That's right behind me might have 3 rows and fit your entire family. But let me tell you, the XRT Pro will go where the minivans tap out. In today's live stream car review, we're going over the brand new redesigned 2026 Hyundai Palisade in a new trim level, the XRT Pro. Now, from my understanding, the XRT was available last year in some areas like the States or some regions, but here in Canada, we've never had an XRT variant, nevertheless an XRT Pro. So like I mentioned earlier on, this is a live streamed video, so we're doing this in real time with no script, and the purpose of that is to show you everything you need to know about the XRT Pro. We also do this in real time, so those of you that are watching live can use the chat box to ask us questions. Typically towards the end of the video, I'll dedicate a few minutes just to go over viewer questions and answer them. Hopefully they're about the car, but if it's just anything Kia and Hyundai related, we still take that time to do that and have a little chat with you. Now we'll start off on the exterior with the front end first. The XRT will have quite a few exterior design exclusives. I'm sure some of them will stand out right away to you. Now the paint we have here today is called Classy Blue, and they didn't lie. It's a classy color that, although this is a more rugged trim, there's more aggressive styling elements, it ties it in nicely. It doesn't look overdone, it's not overwhelming. It's just a beautiful contrast, a beautiful mix. Flows so well. The paint itself is metallic. I wish I had a flashlight here to show you guys the sparkle, but I think if Adam comes along this way, there might be enough overhead light glare to highlight the lighter elements within the paint. Look at that sparkle. I absolutely love it, you guys. Let's talk about the actual front end styling now, though. So, of course, 2026 is a full redesign. We have a brand new approach when it comes to styling. All models will have a similar daytime running lamp. Everything is a full LED regardless of your trim, but the XRT will take things a little bit more rugged, a little bit more stylish in the off-road department. Is that right to say? Let me know in the comments down below. So there's a lot more blacked out or dark elements. The housing for the headlamps itself shows a lot of this. You'll notice there's a lot of shadow, but your light beams are exactly where you need them most. There's a very sharp cutoff, and of course with LEDs, they're also far more efficient. Now with such brightness and such sharpness, it's also nice to note that this vehicle does have intelligent high beam assist. So if you're running your high beams and a vehicle goes to pass you in the oncoming lane, it will shut them off until it's safe to turn them back on again. Or if you approach over a hill and there's suddenly a car there, you don't have to worry about turning them off, or if you forget to turn them off, the car will handle it for you. You have front parking sensors. These ultrasonic circular sensors will give you a beep and a visual alert inside the cabin when you get too close to something, whether that be a parked vehicle or a wall. The car will warn you. That's not it though. We also have cameras all throughout the vehicle, and it actually starts on the XRT Pro trim level. The first camera we'll see is located right smack dab in the center. This is our front-facing camera that pieces together with the rest of our exterior cameras to give you a full 360-degree view. The XRT will also have a ground view camera too. It's kind of like your front axle. It shows you exactly what's under your wheels. It's pretty cool. I'll show you guys inside the car. For our grille, we'll have quite a bit of gloss black, many horizontal slats with sharp vertical touches, and then a silver painted lower grille. Now this is a matte silver. Sorry, I'm kind of getting blinded right now, you guys. I can't even see it myself. It's a bit of a matte finish, so that will hold up better in terms of cleaning the car. With a true chrome or a true silver, you'll see fingerprints a bit more. You'll see watermarks a bit more. I do find a matte or satin finish to be a little bit more forgiving. Can't forget about these. We have integrated tow hooks. So not the typical tow hooks where you'll feed the eye through and of course pop open that little plastic cap. Built in, and they're actually structural. They're not just for show. You can use this. Hopefully you don't end up in a ditch, but if you do, recovery points, front and rear bumper. We'll see the rear in just a few minutes. Lower for our skid plate, you'll notice it's that same dark silver painted material. Kind of don't even want to call it silver, maybe more so gunmetal. And then right sandwiched in the middle, we have our radar plate. Now this is utilized for a button. Of course our lights shut off, of course. Now this is used for a ton of our safety functions, namely the smart cruise control, but also our highway driving assist. Highway driving assist is an advancement of the typical smart cruise control, which, as we know, will slow your vehicle down if you hit stop and go traffic and then take you right back up to speed again. It also lets you choose the following distance based off whatever your comfort is as a driver. Highway Drive Assist takes all that, adds in navigation intelligence, so speed limit of the highway that you're on, if there's any bends in the road, and also uses the camera located in the windshield to watch the lanes. So not only will it make sure I am slowing down if we hit stop and go traffic or if something changes, but it'll always keep me centered. Bit of a cruise control for the lane safety, while also a cruise control for the cruise control. So it blends everything together into one great feature, and it's on this trim level. Let's pop the hood and talk powertrain. Now we have the V6 variant available only for the XRT Pro, so there is no hybrid option if you are looking to get our more capable version of the Palisade. This V6 though, we no longer have the 3.8 liter GDI, we now have a 3.5 liter GDI plus MPI. Now what does that mean if you're not a Hyundai geek like me or a car geek? Well, gasoline direct injection is your GDI, and then MPI is multi-point injection. Essentially, those are two different fuel delivery systems. Now, when we combine them together, we get the benefits or the best of both worlds. So MPI will tackle a lot of the low-end power, which is where GDI used to struggle in the past. You may have heard of something called carbon buildup. Yeah, GDI engines are known for that. So because the MPI kicks in, it minimizes the carbon buildup, and then under heavy or high load, that's where GDI really shines, gets you the best power and efficiency. So with this 3.5 liter, we have 287 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. A very healthy horsepower and torque output. How does that compare to last year? I think we lose about 11 horse. Someone might have to fact check me on that. I'm sorry, you guys. I know a lot about this car, but sometimes other specs leave my brain. If anyone wants to fact check me, that's okay. But again, we're not losing much power. We are gaining a little bit more efficiency and just a more solid power plant. It's got a very good drive feel. It's very linear in its power, which of course is a characteristic of a V6 or any sort of naturally aspirated powertrain. That power delivery is smooth, you know what I mean? There's no turbo lag, there's no spikes, there's no weird grooves where things feel sluggish. It's just solid. Your transmission is an 8-speed regular automatic with a torque converter, so no dual clutches here, no CVTs, none of that. Just a nice, smooth automatic. You guys hear that lisp for a second? Oh my goodness. All right, let's take a look at the wheels. I absolutely love talking about wheels, but more specifically tires, and this vehicle's got a cool setup. So this is an 18-inch alloy, and it looks a little bit chunky in a good way. So we have a mix of a satin black with our machined finished elements on the side, and then your center cap is XRT branded. Now the tire itself is a Continental cross-contact all-terrain tire. Now some people hear all-terrain and think, perfect, no need for snows. You guys, if you've watched any of our videos where we get into the topic of snow tires or winter driving, all-terrains are not exactly a direct replacement for winter tires. There are physical differences. I don't know if I should get into them now. I feel like I have to. I already started. Winter tires do have a softer compound. They also have designated tread patterns that are meant to exit or have exit points for built-up snow and bite into it differently. With a winter tire, you're going to have a better stopping distance and better traction in colder climates. All-terrain tires have a pretty aggressive tread pattern that does really well on all terrain. So let's talk about sand, gravel, mud. It's going to dig in deeper and handle a lot better than a typical all-season would. But when climates get colder, they will get a little bit harder and they won't necessarily dig in as good as a snow tire would. As far as ice goes and braking distance, it won't make as much of a difference as a proper winter tire. So if you are shopping for the Palisade XRT Pro or any vehicle, and you do a lot of winter driving, and I'm not just talking heavy snow, I'm talking ice, slush, cold climates, winter tires, baby. That also extends the lifespan of these guys. For your brakes, we have ventilated disc brakes up at the front. They are large. We have solid disc brakes in the rear. And did you know the new Hyundai Palisade has a greater stopping distance from 100 kilometers per hour to 0 in 41.5 meters, which is better than last year's Hyundai Palisade. It's better than the Ford Explorer, and it's better than the Toyota Highlander. Fun fact. Your wheel arch is a plastic or black plastic wheel arch. This may not necessarily look as stylish as a body color, but on an off-road inspired trim level, not only does it make sense, but it's also going to be a little bit more durable. And if you do plan on keeping this vehicle for a long time, whenever you have body color here or painted material, it loves to collect little microscopic scratches and dings from all the debris that gets kicked off from the road. So protect your paint a little bit. Windshield is an acoustic laminated windshield, which provides you with a much quieter cabin experience. That's actually standard on the new Palisade. And I made it my mission when I drove this vehicle here to our studio today to not listen to the radio, not have any media running, so I could hear the actual road noise. Common question whenever we have a vehicle with an all-terrain tire setup is it noisy? How does it feel? I thought it handled fantastically. This is not an overly aggressive all-terrain tire. I mean, it's pretty subtle. And if you're a tire geek or an off-road geek, the off-road tire size for you would be, these are 30s, you know? Anyway, back to what I was saying about cabin quietness and comfort. It is a very, very luxurious cabin, even though this is a more rugged trim level. So you got all the looks, you got all the capability, but as far as you're concerned, you're riding in style, you're riding in comfort, and you're riding in peace. Unless you have noisy passengers. Can't help you there. The mirrors are power folding starting on this trim level with a black finish. And then for the actual flagpole or attachment portion, it is a matte satin. Gotta stop saying matte, it's not always matte. And then for our side portion, you'll notice we also have our cameras. Now these cameras are called a blind view monitor. They also piece together the side profile of our 360-degree camera view. So this side, that side, front and rear will piece together the full image. Now every time I am driving and I go to indicate a lane change, it'll show me exactly what's happening in the corresponding blind spot camera. It's helpful for pedestrians, others, of course, you're moving on the highway. Just a great function to have, and the camera quality is super crisp. Your roof rails are raised on the XRT Pro, and they also have a load capability of 220 pounds. So if you have to utilize rooftop storage, you got a good amount to work with. The door handles on the vehicle are painted in a satin black material. You also have proximity entry, so as long as the key is somewhere on you, simply walk up to the front door, whether it be driver or passenger, reach for the handle, it'll unlock, and then press it again when you're done to lock the vehicle. For our door flares, more cladding with XRT brand designation, and then a tiny strip of gloss black too to add some mixed elements. I think it ties in nicely with the wheels and the mirrors too, because if you remember when we looked at the mirrors, they are finished with gloss black on the front portion. Your rear suspension, we got quite a bit going on. So it is a multi-link independent rear suspension, but we also have an electronic limited slip differential. It's rear mounted, so what that means is the Palisade comes standard with all-wheel drive here in Canada. The all-wheel drive is fantastic. You get snow mode, mud mode, and sand mode, and the vehicle can drop it all the way to a 50-50 torque split depending on your condition and your selected drive mode. But what it doesn't do, it redistributes power to the front and the rear, it doesn't redistribute power from the left to the right. So let's say I find myself in a sticky situation and this wheel over here is up high on a rock, it's in the air, it's not really maintaining grip or contact with the ground. On a vehicle without a limited slip differential, it'll send power to both wheels. This one's gonna keep spinning, and I'm not gonna go anywhere. The other vehicle that is in contact with the ground isn't going to receive as much power because the way physics work, it's going to take the path of least resistance. It's easier to spin the wheel that has no contact, no grip. You know what I mean? The wheel's in the air, there's nothing stopping it from rolling. The wheel that's on the ground, not getting that much power. We're not going anywhere. Limited slip can adjust power from the left to the right, vice versa. So if this wheel is not in contact with the ground, not maintaining any sort of traction, it'll send power to my left side and then we can get moving again. So great use, really backs the Hyundai Palisade. It's not just a look car, if that makes sense. Sorry, I kind of lost my breath there. The outdoorsy or ruggedness isn't just for looks. It actually has mechanical upgrades that make it more capable. It's physically capable. So very happy to see that. All right, coming along to the actual rear of the vehicle, let's talk design. LED tail lamps, similar to the daytime running light design. I like to call them vampire fangs. I definitely have to film one of these on Halloween. Absolutely beautiful. Lots of gloss black surrounding, giving a dark appeal. And then we have a small black belt line on our sides. XRT badging will be found on the driver's side, left-hand side. And then we have that same orangey red painted recovery hook along our rear bumper. Ultrasonic parking sensors are also located along the back, And we do have parking collision avoidance assist on this vehicle starting on this trim. So I actually used that today because this car was parked in a very, very tight spot. I had to back up as much as I could right up into another vehicle. Didn't hit it. Mind you, I wasn't going to hit it anyway, but the car does emergency brake to avoid collisions, so very helpful. Backup camera located right over here. And then this internal panel is all finished in a nice satin gunmetal shade, just like what we saw up at the front. And that's repeated again on our back bumper. Let's open up the lift, power lift gate, because she's not just capable, she is fancy. Speaking of fancy, this is my dad's disgusting hockey bag. I could say we have over 500 liters of cargo space behind the third row, but it's so much better if I show you what things look like behind the seats themselves. So hockey bag full of stuff, fits. And we got some internal height and sidewall, side area to spare too. There is an LED light mounted on our headliner, and then your third seatbelt for your rear seats will come right from the rooftop. I'm gonna take this out. You may be wondering, Gabby, why do you have a hockey bag? The answer is because I love sports. Just kidding. I am not a sports person, but I can get behind some local team. So Brantford Hyundai, and Brantford is where our dealership is. That's where we film. I work for Brantford Kia, but we're partnered with Brantford Hyundai, and they are partnered with the Brantford Bulldogs, our OHL team. One of their star players, and this kid, I think he's 18 years old. He's young and very talented. He's gonna do big things. Right now, he will be, not right now, next week, next Saturday, he will be at our Brantford Hyundai store signing hockey pucks. His name's Jake O'Brien. If you wanna come by and check him out, say hello, maybe get a puck signed by him, absolutely come by Brantford Hyundai. Anyway, back to the car. Behind our third row, we have ample space, tons of height, tons of width. We can get the proper dimensions in the description because I am not a robot and I do not know the exact dimensions off the top of my head. Underneath our floorboard, we have our jack for our spare tire. The spare tire itself is located underneath the vehicle. And then we have our hitch. Now, where do we put said hitch? For the 2026 model, starting on the XRT Pro, we don't just have the trailer pre-wiring, we don't just have the heavy-duty transmission cooler, and we don't just have a tow mode. We actually have a factory integrated hitch. Now, you can't see it because it's covered by this stylish panel to make sure your vehicle looks normal when not towing and not in use. But there's two screws underneath here. Simply unscrew it, and then you have access to your hitch from factory. So you do not have to pay to get it installed aftermarket. You don't have to add it on as a dealer accessory. It's included starting on the XRT Pro. Don't know if I already mentioned the towing capacity, but it's 5,000 pounds, so exactly the same as last year's model. And on top of our electronic limited slip differential, we also have a self-levelizing rear suspension. So if your vehicle is loaded up with people and you're towing something, it'll automatically adjust its rear height to prevent sagging. All right, last thing in terms of styling, Palisade badging and the Hyundai badge will all be finished in black. That was the same on the front end of the vehicle. I'm not sure if I pointed that out. That is exclusive to the XRT Pro. Same thing with the blacked out door handles. Adam almost lost it right there. He almost ate it. Now let's take a look inside. For the cabin, we again have a surprisingly luxurious interior. Leatherette seating. It is black leather only, available on the XRT Pro. But you'll notice the patterning. Kind of have a mountainscape within the seat. And then our headrest has XRT debossing. So trim exclusive, of course, but I think it's a nice touch to bring some fun elements into the cabin. The seats up at the front will be heated and ventilated, which is a very, very nice addition. And your driver's seat, on top of having many, many power controls, is also a memory seat. So, because we have memory seats and power folding mirrors, whatever I adjust my mirror to will be linked to my driver's saved seat. I have 2 buttons here, however, you actually have 6 different memory saves, 2 per user profile. Your door handle is finished in a black paint. I was gonna use a fancy word, but I can't think of one. And then for our door card, lots of soft touch material with this panel here being like a proper leatherette. And you can see a little bit of the ambient lighting glow through there. You can of course set ambient lighting to your preferred color and even link it to your driver profile. So if you share your car with your partner or someone else and you have very different color tastes, hop in the vehicle, enter your driver profile, everything will be saved to your liking. Now your sound system, we have a BOSE premium sound system, and there is 14 speakers. There is no specialty badging on the speakers themselves, which is kind of a bummer, but I mean, it's still a premium audio system, so it sounds good. May not look too fancy, but it's gonna sound fancy. I'm here for it. Left-hand side, we'll have our brightness adjustment, our release for our lift gate, our idle stop and go, as well as a tow mode, our traction control, and our parking brake. Electronic parking brake is standard on the Palisade. Your steering wheel is heated and leather wrapped. Let's take a look there. I'm also going to turn off the climate control so there's no extra noise. Steering wheel is a very premium look and feel to it. Again, heated with 2 different levels and leather wrapped, makes it feel good, and of course, it's very comfortable. Left-hand side is reserved for driver assistance, with our smart cruise control button being here, your adjustments for your speed, your adjustment for your following distance, and then this button here will turn on or off our lane following assist and our lane keeping assist. One quick press will turn on lane follow, or I guess not because the car's not on, and then pressing and holding will turn on or off lane keep. Your gauge cluster is fully digitized and it is 12.3 inches in size. You have your digital speedometer reading on the left-hand side and your digital tachometer on the right. If you're not a fan of the blue and orange, there are different cluster theme selections that you can go and adjust, and of course is also linked to your specific profile. I'm going to show you guys this XRT exclusive menu. So this will give you a look at your torque distribution for the all-wheel drive, but also your pitch and your roll, which is very cool. This is all live as well, so as you drive, this will adjust. Then we also have our gear shift rating. Oh, it's going to keep resorting. I can't pronounce anything today. All right, so we have our gear shift reading with our RPMs, our oil temp, and then our transmission temperature. All right, let's zoom out. There we go. Next screen, we have our trip, since refueling, since last reset, and auto stop. I'm going to quickly revert back to a spec I missed earlier. So this vehicle, in terms of fuel tank size, is a 72-liter tank. I believe that's 2 liters larger than last year's V6 model. It might be the same. Again, if you guys owned a previous Palisade, let me know. But our fuel efficiency is about 12.7 liters per 100 kilometers combined. So that is highway and city driving. Of course, with our fuel efficiency ratings, a lot of it will depend on how you actually drive as an individual. If you do a lot of highway driving versus city, of course, this vehicle will perform better on the highway. All right, so let's take a look at the center screen display. 12.3 inches in size. This is standard on all models of the Palisade, and it features our brand new software. This is called CCNC, which was not available on last year's Palisade. It's very user-friendly, and in my opinion, I think it suits this car a lot better than last year's. It kind of mimics a smartphone in the way you operate it. So pull down the top menu and you have quick controls like the brightness, as well as turning some functions on or off. You can also customize it to remove features that you never really find yourself digging into, or add in extras that weren't on by default. Anything you change is, again, all linked to your driver profile. So if you have very different tastes in, safety settings or how you want the screen to be laid out than your partner, that'll all be separated and there'll be no fighting. Hyundai is really saving marriages out there. All right, here is an off-road menu exclusive, of course, to the XRT Pro, kind of similar to what we saw in the gauge cluster. This will give you active readings of your pitch and your roll, your oil temp, transmission temp, and an engine temp. It also, interestingly enough, shows you your 12-volt battery voltage and your oil pressure. Gives you an accurate reading of what mode you're currently in. So right now we're in 4A. Is this vehicle technically a proper 4x4 or 4-wheel drive? I mean, no, not in the sense of a truck that might have, an open diff, the transfer case or anything like that. It's not that kind of 4x4. It is an all-wheel drive. And of course, the vehicle does have the capability of automatically adjusting power to the front and the rear. But of course, the limited slip differential will also give you the ability to, not necessarily you, but the vehicle, the ability to send power to either the left or the right-hand side, depending on where power is actively going and what wheel actually has traction. All right. Ooh, rare Tim sighting. There he is in his wild habitat. All right. Next, here we can see our ground view angle. Speaking of ground view, 8.4 inches, just under, it's technically 8.35 of ground clearance on the XRT Pro. Slide on over, you have a quick menu for trailer, which also gives you a starting checklist. Fun thing about the new Palisade is this trailer menu will show you, not necessarily show you, but allow you to save trailers. So let's say I have 2 trailers. One of them is utility trailer, maybe I'll put like a dirt bike or something on there, and then the other is a pop-up camper trailer. You can separate the both of them there and have separate trip readings depending on what trailer you're pulling. So see what your fuel efficiency was like when you had your, your tent, your pop-up camper, or what it was like for your other trailer. So I think all of this customization is very cool, and there's so much info that you get back as a driver. Drive and terrain modes can be customized with this button and switch. So you'll use the button to select between drive and terrain, and then you use the toggle to decipher between the two. So drive will allow you for eco, normal, sport, or a customizable My Drive, and then terrain will take you through snow, mud, and sand. You can only be in one or the other, so you can't be in a sport snow mode. It's either sport or it's snow. Vents located in the center, and then of course we have them along for the passenger and the driver. You'll notice our ambient lighting changed, and then we have physical buttons for our media, as well as their dial for our volume and our tune. Below that is your climate control, so your heated seats and ventilated seats are accessed here. Then we also have our heated steering wheel and fan controls, as well as direction. From the front, you can set the rear temperature to your liking. You can also lock it, so if your kids are bad, lock it for them. Turn it off. Don't let them have climate. Just kidding, you guys. I'd be a horrible parent. Underneath is where we'll find a small shelf, as well as a 12-volt inverter. And then, Adam, it might be helpful if you come on the passenger side, I think, to film this. Sorry, guys. I'm going to flip the camera. We can talk for a second. So far, let me know what you guys think. We're at 26 minutes, and we still got a lot more car to go. If you haven't liked this video already, please consider doing so. It's a lot of talking, and it's free to like the video. Okay, so underneath that climate control board, we have this small shelf, a 12-volt inverter, and then a pretty good access area here for storage. I like the fact that we have a little bit of wall on each side, and the portion, or the floorboard here, and the floorboard here is a bit of a rubber or grip-like material, so whatever you put here shouldn't roll away if you make a sharp turn. The center console is a floating style, so what that means is we got more room. There's a wireless phone charger here, and it's a faster wireless charger that's meant to also minimize the amount of heat that your phone will take. We have multiple USB-Cs. This one will be for connectivity and charging. And then the two to the right are simply for charging with 100-watt max capacity, so fast chargers, and that's actually throughout the car. What we'll have in the rear is that same 100-watt. We have 2 cup holders, standard sized, and then for our center console, pop opens like this, and it's a wide one. It's not necessarily very deep, but it's very, very wide. It also looks cool, and that was worth some points. We've got multiple buttons here, so this will be for our downhill braking assist, helpful if you are someone who lives in a very hilly area or if you do plan on doing some light off-roading with the car. Parking sensors, you can shut them off here. Fantastic if you do have a trailer or a bike rack behind your car. And then our camera. By pressing the camera view button, it'll show me a live feedback of what my cameras see. So this is the front view, and then we have a top down. The top down is going to look a little funky because both mine and Adam's doors are open, so it looks very strange. But if you were actually parking your car with all the doors closed, it would be normal. Here are side view cameras. So this uses the mirror mounted cameras to show you exactly what's happening. And then we have a wide view of our backup. There's also this camera, which is going to look completely ridiculous right now, but let me close my door and you'll see the proper look. This is an interactive one, so you can scroll around and see exactly where you're parked. If there were parking guidelines here, you would see if you made them or if you need to learn how to park again. Alrighty. Now that's it for our screen. Let's take a look at the sunroof and then what we've got up here before we head into the second row. So our interior cabin lights are LEDs. We have our sunroof control right over here. It's just a standard style sunroof. So power opens. It's fairly wide, but it doesn't extend to the rear. And then we have a few buttons over here for SOS, emergency services, and our, oh my gosh, I almost called roadside assistance. And the next one is our roadside assistance. Free for 5 years, unlimited kilometers, and it works. So the roadside assistance is a haptic button, just found that out today. SOS is a physical button. You'll feel if you pressed it. Haptic button, just be careful when you clean your car. Don't rest your hand over there. All right, let's check out the back seats. Also, for our rear view mirror, it is auto dimming and it does have integrated home link. Speaking of auto dimming, the same is true for our side mirrors. The XRT Pro is only available as a 7-seater configuration, so that means we have the 2 captain's chairs here in the middle instead of the typical bench that was in the preferred trend or the entry model. What it means if you have captain's chairs, if you have kids that fight like me and my brother did, they're a little bit separated. Everyone has their own individual chair. You also get armrests. These are adjustable, so you can lock them into different positions, and the seats themselves recline on their own. So if I wanted a little bit more comfort on a long road trip, I could adjust it to be a bit more reclined and enjoy my drive. Speaking of enjoying the drive, we have a dark headliner. So if you are a rear passenger and you plan on napping, this is almost like the blackout curtains of the car world. I quite like them. To make things even better, we have door integrated sunshades. So pop those up, and not even joking, this is an amazing nap vehicle if you're a passenger. In the front, we have a lot of visibility, a lot of light. There's no sunshades for the front windows, of course, and we do have the sunroof that adds a bit more extra light, but yeah, this is a perfect nap vehicle. Next video idea. All right, up at the top, we have our climate control board. So we have heated seats in the rear. I can turn them on or off by pressing the individual button. There's 3 different levels for each seat. Temperature adjustment, as well as our auto function, and then our fan direction and fan speed. You'll notice this little talk button here. Your rear passengers can use voice recognition as well too. Tell them or don't tell them about that. The choice is yours. Okay, a few more things I'll point out before we hop into the third row. We have a household inverter, or 115 volt here. The max capacity is 150 watts. There we are. And then underneath, your rear passengers get their own little storage cubby. The backs of the seats have this plastic but adjustable pocket. And then we have that built-in USB-C that's 100-watt output, so fast charging from our back seats. On the door card, I'll have Adam point out our speaker design, or what looks to be a speaker design. So we actually have integrated safe exit assist. So if I parallel parked on a busy street and my passengers go to open their door and there's oncoming traffic, there's a car flying down the road, that'll flash and beep, but also lock the door to prevent, my door being ripped off or an accident, any sort of injury damage. All these safety functions are things that you don't necessarily think about, but oh my goodness, so good to have. Top of that, the vehicle has your typical forward collision avoidance, so if the car ahead of you slams on the brakes and you don't react, the car warns you and then hits the brakes for you, as well as blind spot collision avoidance, giving you an audible warning, a visual warning, the camera feed, and brake correction to avoid said collision. Same thing for the rear, of course, when you are parking. Now, I'm going to flip this seat forward to show you guys the third row. Pressing that button on the shoulder area will allow the seat to raise, but also push itself forwards. It actually moves a little bit more. It's just on a rail, so you'll push it yourself. And as you can see, we have a pretty good walkway into the third row. Because this is also a captain's chairs configuration, you have that aisle in the middle that you can pull through too. Like most vehicles with a third row and 3 seats in the third row, probably should have taken this out of recline mode. Bear with me, you guys. But like most vehicles with a third row and 3 seats back there, the middle seat isn't necessarily going to be the best seat in the house. It's pretty small, but the 2 main seats are wide and you have a ton of headroom. Another thing where the Palisade shines, these rear windows are very, very large, so you have a good viewpoint of what's going on outside of the cabin. And anytime we're in a third row with captain's chairs ahead of us, having that aisle in the middle also creates the feeling that you're part of the cabin a little bit more. When you have that full bench seat, it's almost like the Great Wall that separates, separates you like the passengers from the cargo. If you're in the third row, you don't feel like you're a passenger. You feel like you're the hockey bag back there. So this is a little bit more better ambiance, I guess. I will say it's also fairly dark back here. Now you do have LED lights. They're really bright. And roof mounted air vents. So That is very, very nice. Anytime we have a roof-mounted air vent, it's fantastic, especially if you have kids in car seats, because the airflow will go directly to your passenger instead of when they're typically mounted on the back of your center console, where it kind of just goes to the car seat directly or your passenger's kneecaps. This is far, far more comfortable. Now, along the sides, it's going to be a little hard for Adam to film, but we'll try our best. We have 2 cup holders on each side, as well as our 100-volt or 100-watt, oh my goodness, charger, USB-C charger. And then we also have a subwoofer back here. Hello, sound system. So like I mentioned earlier, the BOSE sound system is 14 speakers. We've got, I think there's like 8 tweeter speakers. I'll have to get back to you guys on how many of what we have, but it's a good sound system. It is a very good sound system. You also have an in-car telecom. So because this is a third row, and your third row passengers are probably yapping, chatting, you may not get your point across as a driver. You can use the intercom to project your voice to the rear speakers. That way you know they heard you, and they know you'll turn this car around. Sorry, okay, I'm done being silly. Let's answer some questions, see what you guys have to say about the Palisade. I'll take the camera from Adam, and we'll climb out. I'm doing this in high heels. Actually, I shouldn't say I'm doing this. I haven't gotten out yet, so we don't know if we made it. There we go. High heels and only one arm. I will say the Palisade does a great job at making it pretty easy to get in and out. We do have handles alongside. So for me to climb in, I have areas to grab to allow myself in. Right over there. I can't even film it. This angle is a little strange. So you can support yourself by grabbing the handle, and then you have a little bit of cladding here too, so you're not necessarily stepping directly onto the carpet. And then you're right into the third row. I think I mentioned all of the interior elements I would like to talk about in the live stream. It's always hard filming a very well-equipped third row vehicle because, I mean, how much time do you spend in each row and how in-depth do you go? But if there's any specific questions you guys may have in the chat, let me know now while I have the car here and I can point them out to you or answer them for you. I do think this vehicle is, again, very, very well equipped, considering it's supposed to be, again, that more rugged or more off-road-esque vehicle. You get so much refinement in the cabin, a lot of luxurious and convenience functions. So I am quite impressed. I didn't show you guys the passenger seat, so let's take a look at that now. Doubt Cars said, do you think a 2-person tent would fit in there? How funny. Your passenger seat is powered and has the same controls for the most part as the driver. So we just 2-way lumbar support, our backrest adjustment, and then the height and angle of the seat. Very nice to see a power passenger seat on this vehicle. Your paneling here, it's not a wood grain, although it kind of looks like that on camera. I don't even know what to describe this as, you guys. I've got to be honest. Feel free to leave your suggestions in the chat. But XRT badging, and then your glove box is LED illuminated. And there is a small shelf right above, perfect for pens or sunglasses. You may have noticed recently, just about every new car has kind of done away with sunglass holders. There's no longer that dedicated pouch, usually where your sunroof controls are, which makes no sense to me because, I mean, things like CD players make sense that you get rid of them. No one's really using CDs that often. But people still need sunglasses. Our eyes are not evolving the way our multimedia systems are. So where are we putting our sunglass holders now? Let me know in the comments. Let me know. Does this SUV rattle while driving? Shouldn't. It didn't when I did it. No, I drove this car here today. I was very, very impressed with how quiet the road noise was and just the cabin feel. It was a very, very silent vehicle. Even with the larger power plant, I mean, you would expect a hybrid to be quiet because, again, smaller displacement engine, you have that electric motor supplementation, but the V6 was not noisy at all. Does this car only come in a V6 or are there more options as well? Also, what interior color options are there? So if you're looking for the XRT Pro exclusively, it only comes with the 3.5-liter V6. It also only comes with the black interior, at least here in Canada. If you are in a different area, states, different region, you may get different equipment. I know in the past, the States had an XRT version of the Palisade and we never did. So this is the first time we're getting it, and those are our specs. I believe in the States you guys also don't get memory seats on your vehicle. We do. How is the steering feel of the SUV? So SUVs, I mean, they're never gonna handle like a sports car, but the steering feel is still very direct. It's not spongy, it's not, I don't know, it still responds very nicely. Steering is also changed depending on the drive mode that you're in. So if you're in sport mode, you'll feel a little bit more of a stiff feeling, and stiff good. It's a little bit more direct, feels a little tighter, you know what I mean? If you like driving it a bit more spiritedly, you might appreciate it. If you're in eco mode or normal mode, it's going to be a little bit lighter, a little smoother. So depending on what your preference is, you can switch between all of them. Choosing a certain drive mode isn't going to break your vehicle. It's not a bad thing to do. Sure, sport mode might consume a little bit more fuel just because of the way it'll change the gear shifting patterns, but it's not going to damage your vehicle. Only you can damage your vehicle. Tier D RAV4 said, I'd say the limited and calligraphy tires are more pricey than the SE and the SEL tires. So I'm not too sure what the American configurations are like for the Palisade. Your trim levels are very different than ours. But here in Canada, when we hop over to the Ultimate Calligraphy, you get an acoustic tire. So there's a little layer of foam deadening, and that's meant to make the road noise even quieter, a little bit less. Okay, how does the electronic limited slip differential on the rear axle enhance the XRT Pro's traction in low grip conditions? What a good technological question. So I did touch on it a bit earlier, but essentially what an e-LSD does, or what a limited slip does, and let me give you some real world perspective too, because I do not have one in my car. When the vehicle has a wheel that is not in contact with the ground, we're starting to slip, we do not have traction. A regular vehicle with an open differential will keep sending power to both those wheels. The way physics work, big physics girl, is physics are going to follow the path of least resistance. So that tire that does not have direct traction and has a more slippery surface or isn't even on the ground at all, it's in the air, that's going to spin like there's no tomorrow. It's going to keep going and your car's not going to go anywhere. Meanwhile, less power will actually be transferred to the ground from the tire or the wheel that is in contact with the ground. So it sounds like you would still have the power to go because, I mean, power is connecting on one side, but that's not necessarily the case. So that is where the LSD will send power from either the right to the left, vice versa, to give you power for the wheel that has contact. So that's what makes it more capable in terrainy conditions. And how that also differentiates from regular all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive will transfer power from the front to the rear, vice versa, kind of maybe a mix of both. Sometimes you'll get 80% in the front, 20% in the rear, 50-50 between the two, but it doesn't transfer between left and right. Okay, also, I told you guys I'll give a real-world perspective. So my truck, it's a 4x4 with a majority of the time it's in rear-wheel drive, two-wheel drive. So my car likes to do something called a one-wheel peel. In winter or during winter, if I'm accelerating from, let's say, a stop sign, my truck is we only have traction on one side. The other side is spinning, wheels spinning, we're not going anywhere. And that is, it's a downside, of course, of the vehicle. At that time, I don't think those trucks came with the option for an LSD. Some people do eventually go and add one on, but it's not worth it for me. I'm not spending that much money on my truck. Very nice to have it from factory on this vehicle, but might not necessarily make sense to add on to a 15-year-old rusted truck. All right, already high ground clearance by default. So this vehicle will have an increased ground clearance. It's about 8.4 inches. When will the Hyundai Palisade XRT Pro model also come with air suspension? When you can increase your ground clearance? I mean, I don't think they're going to include a typical air suspension. I think that's going to be something that's very, very costly. And when air suspension does fail, oh my goodness, you guys, that is so much money, so much money. I don't think it's necessarily important on a car like this. This vehicle is certainly off-road capable, but it's not, I mean, it's not a dune buggy. You know, I don't think you'll be rock crawling with it the way you would with, you know, a purpose-built off-roader. This car can absolutely tackle pretty much any normal terrain you'll throw at it. If it's, you know, a road that's been out of service, an old logging road, that kind of thing, yeah, absolutely, it can do that no problem, but it's not going to climb up rock walls. Sorry, but it will fit your family. You can tow coupes with the Mazda. We'll find out come wintertime. See if I have to pull anyone out of the ditch. How is the hybrid system comparing with Toyota and Honda? Here say it's a new system. Yes, so for the Palisade specifically, we have a new hybrid system, which actually uses 2 electric motors. One will be for power generation, and the other is actual drive force. So that is what will be powering our wheels. This, we've just received it. So our first hybrid Palisade came out like probably a week or 2 ago. I haven't gotten the chance to drive it too much. I will say with Toyota specifically, they've been doing hybrids for forever. I mean, the Prius came out, what, 2009, 2010, even earlier? Someone wants to fact check me on that. They've been doing it forever, so they have a long-standing, credibility source. People have had those cars for a long time now. Our cars, it's done fantastic so far. Seriously, so good. I'm very impressed with just how much electric range you get out of the straight hybrid. I mean, you expect that with a plug-in hybrid vehicle, but the regular hybrid is doing so well at maintaining city speeds without turning the engine on. So it's proven itself to be quite nice. Also, the power output of the 2.5-liter turbo hybrid, 329 horsepower, 339 pound-feet of torque, and the fuel efficiency rating that it has, pretty good, you guys. I'm a fan. I realized I didn't say the price of this car, so this one is $57,799 Canadian. We're also at 47 minutes, so I should probably end off today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a ton of fun for me to film. I absolutely love this car. I think it's wicked. It's honestly so much fun. It's so cool to have a vehicle that, number one, fits your family or fits your lifestyle. You don't have to have a ton of kids to get a 3-row SUV. You can have hobbies, other things. But it's cool. I mean, it looks cool, it drives fantastic, it has amazing technology. You don't really feel like you're sacrificing on comfort for getting something that looks a little bit more edgy. So you get the edge, but you also get the nice things. All right, that's it, y'all. Thank you for watching. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.